passage, may we have safe passage, safe passage on our way, safe passage on your way, brother, safe passage on your way, sister, safe passage on your way, sweet children, safe passage on our way. May we have safe passage, safe passage. May we have safe passage, safe passage on our way, safe passage on your way, brother, safe passage on your way, sister. Safe passage on your way, sweet children, safe passage on your way. May we have safe passage, safe passage. May we have safe passage, safe passage on our way, safe passage on your way, brother, safe passage on your way, sister, safe passage on your way, sweet children, safe passage on your way. May we have safe passage, safe passage. May we have safe passage, safe passage on our way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the church, or welcome. Here with us today is Reverend Dick Gilbert, a born Universalist who has been a Unitarian Universalist minister for over 60 years. He has served congregations in Cleveland, Ithaca, Golden, Colorado, and the First Unitarian Church in Rochester for 32 years. Among books he has written are Building Your Own Theology, The Prophetic Imperative, How Much Do We Deserve, and a meditation collection, Thanks Be for These. He currently serves on the Clergy Advisory Board of Compassion and Choices New York, the main advocate for medical aid in dying legislation. He is also a rabid Buffalo Bills fan. In other news, January's Share the Plate recipient is the Clean Air Coalition. The Clean Air Coalition builds power by developing grassroots leaders and organizing their communities to run and win environmental justice and public health campaigns in Western New York. They envision a world where our environment promotes health and equity, and where systems place communities at the forefront of decision-making. Donations for King Center Charter School. We're collecting donations of non-perishable food, personal and infant care items, and winter hats and gloves for our neighbors in the community of the King Center Charter School, who were without power for a prolonged time after the Christmas blizzard and are still recovering from its effects. Please leave all donations in the marked bin in the main entrance. Finding Our Center small group discussions. Join Reverend Joan and DRE Jess on Tuesday evenings, 7 o'clock to 8:30 in the Alliance Room starting on February 7th to join in the work of the Article 2 Commission in finding and exploring the center of our faith and our beliefs. There will be 6 sessions, February 7th through March 14th. To register, please email Jess at jpond@buffalouu.org. That is jpond@buffalouu.org. Reverend Joan also hosts a Tuesday morning coffee clutch each week from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Coffee and tea are available at the church. No program, no agenda, just a time to get together with good company. Please see our order of service insert, e-blast, or newsletter for lots more information about what's happening and ways that you can get involved. Now, let's take a moment to greet our neighbor. Say hello to somebody that you may not know. Hello. Thank you. Just received news that Caitlin Sterling just turned 40. Steinberg, sorry. Caitlin Steinberg just turned 46 on the 18th. Happy birthday. Now, let us call ourselves to worship with these words of Reverend Mark Morrison Reed. Let me die laughing. We are all dying, our lives always moving towards completion. We need to learn to live with death and to understand that death is not the worst of all events. We need to fear not death, but life, empty lives, loveless lives, lives that do not build upon the gifts that each of us has been given, lives that are like living deaths, lives which we never take the time to savor and appreciate, lives in which we never pause to breathe deeply. What we need to fear is not death, but squandering the lives we have been miraculously given. So, let me die laughing, savoring one of life's crazy moments. Let me die holding the hand of the one I love, and recalling that I tried to love and was loved in return. Let me die remembering that life has been good, and that I did what I could. But today, just remind me that I am dying so that I can live, savor, and love with all my heart. Come, let us worship. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in saying the words for the lighting of our chalice, the symbol of our free faith. We gather in loving community, inspiring one another to transform ourselves to create a more just and compassionate world. Now, let us sing together hymn number 1057 in your teal hymnal, Go Lift It Up. Today, we will be reading The 10th Good Thing About Barney by Judith Vioris, illustrated by Eric Blegvad. If anyone would like to join me here in front of the pulpit, please feel welcome to. My cat Barney died last Friday. I was very sad. I cried and I didn't watch television. I cried and I didn't eat chicken or even the chocolate pudding. I went to bed and I cried. My mother sat down on my bed and she gave me a hug. She said we should have a funeral for Barney in the morning. She said I should think of 10 good things about Barney so I could tell them at the funeral. I thought and I thought and I thought of good things about Barney. I thought of 9 good things, then I fell asleep. In the morning, my mother wrapped Barney in a yellow scarf. My father buried Barney in the ground by a tree in the yard. Annie, my friend from next door, came over with flowers, and I told good things about Barney. Barney was brave, I said, and smart and funny and clean, also cuddly and handsome, and he only ever once ate a bird. It was sweet, I said, to hear him purr in my ear, and sometimes he slept on my belly and kept it warm. Those are all good things, said my mother, but I just count 9. I said I would try to think of another one later. At the end of the funeral, we sang a song for Barney. We couldn't remember any cat songs, so we sang one about a pussy willow. Even my father knew the words. Then Annie and I went into the kitchen with Mother. She gave us orangeade and butter cookies, and she left the box on the table, so we had seconds. I gave my seconds to Annie. I miss Barney, I said. Annie said Barney was in heaven with lots of cats and angels, drinking cream and eating cans of tuna. I said Barney was in the ground. Heaven, said Annie, heaven. So there, the ground, I told her, the ground, you don't know anything. My father came in from the yard and took a cookie. Big-mouthed Annie said heaven again. I said ground. Tell her who's right, I asked Father. She doesn't know anything. Maybe Barney's in heaven, my father began. Aha, said Annie, and stuck her tongue out at me. And maybe, said Father, Barney isn't. What did I tell you, I said, and yanked Annie's braid. Father made me let go. We don't know too much about heaven, he told Annie. We can't be absolutely sure that it's there. But if it is there, said Annie, in her absolutely sure voice, it's bound to have room for Barney and tuna and cream. She finished another cookie and went back home. My father told me he had to work in the garden. I said that I would help, but only a little. I told him I didn't like it that Barney was dead. He said, why should I like it? It's sad, he said. He told me that it might not feel so sad tomorrow. My father had a packet of little brown seeds. He shook some out onto his hand. The ground will give them food and a place to live, he said, and soon they'll grow a stem and some leaves and flowers. I squeezed the packet open and looked down to the bottom. I told him, I don't see leaves and I don't see flowers. Things change in the ground, said my father. In the ground, everything changes. Will Barney change too? I asked him. Oh yes, said my father. He'll change until he's part of the ground, in the garden. And then I asked, will he help to make flowers and leaves? He will, said my father. He'll help grow the flowers, and he'll help grow the trees and some grass. You know, he said, that's a pretty nice job for a cat. My father and I planted all of the seeds in the garden. Mother made sandwiches, and we ate them under the tree. After lunch, we worked in the garden some more. At night, I still didn't want to watch any television. When I turned out the light, my mother sat down on my bed. She gave me a hug, and I said I had something to tell her. Listen, I said. I told the good things about Barney. Barney was brave, I said, and smart and funny and clean, also cuddly and handsome, and he only once ate a bird. It was sweet, I said, to hear him purr in my ear, and sometimes he slept on my belly and kept it warm. Those are all good things, said my mother, but I still just count 9. Yes, I said, but now I have another. Barney is in the ground, and he's helping grow flowers. You know, I said, that's a pretty nice job for a cat. The end. Now, let's sing our children to their classes with hymn number 413 in your gray hymnal, Go Now in Peace. Every week, we take a good portion of our Sunday morning offering and give it away to a social justice cause outside of our church walls. This month, we are supporting the good work of Clean Air Coalition of Western New York. There are several ways for you to make your offering. You can use PayPal by going to our website and clicking the blue donate button. You can mail a check to the church, or you can arrange a regular automatic deposit with your bank. Or, of course, if you are here in the sanctuary, you can drop it in the plate. If yours is a gift to our Share the Plate ministry, please write share on the memo line of your check, or check share on the PayPal screen. If yours is a welcome gift to our congregation, please write Pledge 2023 on the memo line. Either way, please make sure your check is out to UUCB. Let's give from our hearts so we can transform the world.
If you learn this law, you won't feel so sad. A playmate, a tear stain, a Christmas, a death, the best times, the worst pain. Oh, temporary.
Good morning. It's good to be in Buffalo again. I was recalling the last time I was here was in the fall. Two of my minister friends brought me to a Bills game. We had a flat tire on the thruway and did our tailgating there, but managed to get to the kickoff and see the Bills win 41-17. Fingers crossed, but who knows? This is the 50th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision, a transformative time in our quest for reproductive justice. A quirk in Sunday scheduling finds me here in your pulpit preaching about medical aid in dying, the opposite end of the human lifespan. Some of the values, same values, are at stake, as you will, I think, notice as I go on with my sermon. Our denomination has been steadfast in protecting reproductive justice over the years. I myself was a member of the clergy consultation service on problem pregnancies when I was minister in Ithaca. Our goal was to counsel women with problem pregnancies, but also change New York's laws, both of which we did. This was 1970, before Roe v. Wade. Now, New York serves as a haven for women who cannot get abortions in other states where abortion is either prohibited or limited. And New York is working, the legislature this year is working on an equal rights amendment to the New York State Constitution, which will enshrine reproductive justice in law along with other forms of justice in that particular area. And I invite you to learn about that. And I have some material on the front pews. I have a few copies of things, a little bit on the Equal Rights Amendment for you to peruse, and I hope you will work on that with me. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Our reading this morning is Unpale by Jamaki Highwater. Highwater uses Native American myths to create an epic about a boy's search for his divine father, with Unpale as his Native American Ulysses. Unpale has just encountered Deer Woman, a beautiful enchantress who first seduces, then murders her victims. Unpale is so disturbed by what he has seen that he cannot sleep. He wanders about the slumbering village until he spots a lone campfire. Seated there is a solitary old man. All Unpale could do was shake his head in amazement. "Horrible," he whispered. "I am strong and I am not afraid of many things, but I have never seen anything as terrible as the way that boy was killed. Of all the things I have had to face on my long journey, this is the worst. The thing that terrifies you, my son, it is called death." The old man shrugged. "The young know nothing of it. They think that life goes on until one day you lie down peacefully and go to sleep. But death is not like that. It is something no one wants, but everyone receives. It is like, dear woman, though you fear her, you cannot resist her. Some say that it is better if we never see her. But there are also people who believe she is so beautiful that it is worth dying for her. That is what they say. I don't want to think about it, Unpale said, walking slowly away from the old man. You need not think about it, my young friend. It will think about you. It will happen whether you think about it or not. When I look across the river and beyond the valleys, when I search for the faces of my friends who are gone, I cannot help thinking about the day when everything must die and all that has been can be no more. I sometimes sit here under a storm of stars, watching them burn their desperate, separate fires in the enormous sky. But always as I watch, something happens. Look, you will see it too. There, a star dies. It makes a great flash of fire as it falls, and then it dies. There's not a night when some great star does not fall. One day, even our Father the Sun will fall. All the stars are fathers, and all must die. I do not understand it, my son. I do not try. I only know that there is a thing called death, and we cannot understand how good it is to be alive until we have seen the stars, the birds, our fathers, fall. Unpale hurried away. He didn't want to hear any more. Then for just a moment, he paused and looked back at the ancient man who sat in the glow of his small fire in the cavernous darkness of the world. It is a wonder, he called out to the man, that you want to stay alive if you feel like that. Nothing makes any sense if everything has to end. For an instant, the old man smiled rather sadly. Then he nodded slowly and said, "No, my son, the wonder is that it has happened at all." Here ends the morning reading. I invite you to get comfortable in your pews. Take a few deep breaths. Relax. Put aside your cares and troubles for a moment, and please join me in the spirit of meditation. For all that is good in the world, we make thanksgiving. For the beauty of the earth, we sing praises. For the joy of human companionship, we say, Amen. For the abundance of creation, we give gratitude. For the blessings of being, we are grateful. In the serenity of this hour and the sanctity of this space, we gaze upon life not with rose-colored glasses, but with a heartfelt appreciation of all that is good. While the world surrounding us seems in the grip of evil, we remember the good which graces our everyday. When greed and avarice seem to rule humanity, we recall the generosity of others. Where pessimism about our predicament holds sway, we conjure up an image of possibility. It is no false confidence that we seek, for we know and experience quiet courage everywhere. It is no naive optimism we would exhibit, for we experience the devotion of those fired by hope. in the quietude of this holy hour, we remind ourselves of all the good in the world and are glad. Let us be silent together. Amen. Sometimes bad news makes us wiser. A little more than 2 years ago, I followed at a distance the COVID-19 death of my friend Betty in New York City. She died alone with no family, no friends, one of the early COVID deaths. Her memory and the way she died greatly concentrates my mind on my own mortality and how I die, how we die. The issue of medical aid in dying, for short, it's MAID, M-A-I-D, has long been important to UUs. The General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association passed a resolution favoring medical aid in dying in 1988. I bought a few copies for your perusal. In April of 2017, I pointed that out as I testified before the New York State Assembly Health Committee for Medical Aid in Dying, as a member of the Clergy Advisory Board of Compassion and Choices, New York. The issue is controversial, but this year, the outlook is promising. It is an idea whose time has come. The bill provides a process in which a mentally competent adult with a prognosis of 6 months or less to live may request, obtain, and take medication that brings about a peaceful death. Terminally ill persons are the subjects of their dying, not the object of arbitrary medical rules or medicines. Ultimate decisions are left to the person in consultation with doctor, family, friends, and perhaps clergy. Again, I have brought copies of that bill for you, so you have your reading assignment on your way to the game. In the process of advocating for this legislation, I have once more come to look at my own finitude. And so a few reflections on what I have learned from preaching, pastoring, and politics. After all, religion is about living and dying and the space between. And is it really possible that perhaps in reflecting on death, life will be all the richer? We shall see. Let Me Die Laughing by Mark Morrison Reed is a powerful reminder of our gift of life. And The 10th Thing About Barney by Judith Viors is one of my very favorite readings. And a nice job you did reading them. I once read about a 5-year-old girl who was talking with her 4-year-old sister about death. Death is nothing to be afraid of, she said. It is just as if you were invited somewhere, and it is getting late, and you go to the hostess and say, "Thank you for the wonderful party. I really enjoyed myself, but now it is time to go home." Out of the mouths of babes. One of our basic religious tasks is to learn how to die with dignity, knowing when it is time to go home and how we get from here to there. I sometimes fantasize my own demise. I have 2 distinct pictures of it. As a former skier, I see myself on my 100th birthday taking a triple diamond from the top and just letting it all hang out. Other times I think of a profoundly peaceful death, sharing pearls of wisdom with my family and friends about me as I sit in my chair on the shores of Seneca Lake. What song should I choose for my closing hymn? When the Saints Go Marching In, or Amazing Grace? I'm not sure yet. I'm still working on that one. Ultimately, we come to realize that we are simply guests of existence. We're all temps in the eternal scheme of things. A flash of the firefly in the night, an infinitesimal blink of the cosmic eye. However, we are a cosmic speck that has meaning, that sees meaning in it all, that tries to understand how wonderful it all is. Robert Ardrey catches up my mysticism in his book, The Territorial Imperative, with these words. He says, we partake of time and death and the space between the stars. We matter. Our life counts, as does our death. I have now passed 86 years, it doesn't seem possible, and counting, now counting as slowly as possible. Because it seems that time with each passing year passes by more quickly than before. And one of my retirement projects is to take all my sermons and talks of 60 years of ministry and put them on a flash drive. This is a gift to my sons and grandchildren, a summing up of my work as minister. Perusing the 1,000 or so sermons I have preached and the talks I've given and so forth, I find this review has been fascinating. But I must say, it is humbling to think that everything I have said in these 60 years of ministry can be reduced to a thumb drive. Very humbling indeed. At least it won't take up much room. How do I want it to end? How do I want to die? Not that I will necessarily be in charge at the end. Unitarian Universalists, we folks, tend to be control freaks. We want to be in total control of our lives and of our deaths. Autonomy, self-determination, agency, those are the values by which we try to live. We stand in a long line of people who agree. Plato thought that philosophy was training for dying. Socrates drank the hemlock in the presence of good friends. It was the custom on the Isle of Cos, birthplace of Hippocrates, for the very old to gather annually as if for a banquet and leave the world together by drinking a fatal potion. Elderly Eskimos who felt themselves a drain on scant family resources chose to meet their maker on a barren ice floe. Native Americans embraced a similar ritual, only their place of dying was a lonely and barren hillside. Then there's the modern tradition of the celebration of life while the terminally ill can enjoy it, can enjoy being with friends. You may have read Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom, a wonderful book. Albom spent many Tuesdays with Morrie, one of his teachers, perusing the mysteries of life and death. And so when Morrie was diagnosed with a terminal disease, they had a marvelous celebration, and Morrie enjoyed it immensely. I attended such a service for a friend, and I think it's a great idea. But I recall two less pleasant but more dramatic right to die issues in Rochester. Dr. John Cry, a mostly retired doctor of 76, injected life-ending drugs into a friend and patient of his, patient for many years, who was in a nursing home suffering from Alzheimer's. One of the attending nurses saw what he had done, reported him, and he was brought before a grand jury. She informed the authorities. The district attorney charged him with mercy killing. Before the case played out, Dr. Cry committed suicide in his garage. In the second instance, Dr. Timothy Quill had an article in the New England Journal of Medicine plunging our community into a debate over what was inaccurately termed as physician-assisted suicide. Tim, he's a friend and a member of the First Unitarian Church of Rochester, and a well-known palliative care doctor, wanted to confront the public with the basic issue of terminal suffering. In the article, he described his treatment of Diane, a longtime patient who refused treatment for leukemia with a 1 in 4 chances of success. Together, doctor, patient, and family examined the alternatives, and Tim provided her with medications and instructions for how to use them. She spent the next week saying goodbye to family and friends, and finally took the potion and died peacefully on her living room couch. Editorial pages exploded with indignation, some praising Quill's courage, and some saying that he was playing God. The case was ultimately dismissed by the grand jury, but then Tim took legal action against New York State, but the courts could not find a legal right in aid for dying. And now retired Tim articulates a continuum of ways to look at the end of life, from pain management to palliative care to hospice to medical aid in dying. Well, quickly, what are the moral issues and why do I support such legislation and urge you to do the same by contacting your state legislator? First of all, this is not physician-assisted suicide. Suicide is an act of despair. Medical aid in dying is an act of meaning. And then, will we control our technology or be controlled by it? We face here the tyranny of technology. Persons who previously would have died naturally are artificially kept alive by tubes and all the rest, the paraphernalia. And the question arises, ought we to do everything we are capable of doing in a desperate defiance of death, medicated survival? This tyranny of technology often simply prolongs suffering and the dying process. Then what does reverence for life really mean? And here I draw a distinction between the quantity of mere biological life and the quality of human life. There is no inherent value in longevity and no inherent meaning in what our Roman Catholic friends call the mystical beauty of pain. Life has to do with growing a soul, loving and being loved, and helping to repair the world. The body should be a temple of the soul and not its prison. What about human freedom? Who is to decide for another human being how they shall end their life when they are faced with endless suffering or to painless but drugged existence, or that their family may be plunged into emotional and financial ruin? Our moral imperative, it seems to me, is not just to live, but to live well. Not just life, but the good life. No religious group has the right to deny that privilege to others. And what about the slippery slope argument that if we allow medical aid in dying, the moral climate will be so polluted, no one will be safe? One disability rights group, Not Dead Yet, they call themselves, has been a constant presence at our programs for medical aid in dying. In 2016, we packed First Unitarian Church with a symposium on that very topic with both sides represented. However, there is no evidence of disabled people being coerced into taking lethal drugs, and other medical rights groups, disability rights groups, including ARC of New York, are supportive of MAID. But there are reasons beyond these moral arguments for medical aid in dying. Personally, I think of Margaret, my 95-year-old grandmother, curled up in a fetal position for months in a nursing home, crying like a baby. My mother, my aunts, and I watching helplessly as she suffered and died. I think of Louis, a member of my congregation and a veteran of World War II, a conscientious objector facing inevitable death. He literally starved himself to death. At home, I can see him now as his wife would simply wet his lips, but not feed him by common agreement. I think of Helen, another church member who told us she had stocked up all the lethal drugs she could find to take her own life, but she had a stroke and died otherwise. But she was ready to take her own life, no matter what. And I think of Jim, who shot himself, and of Roy and Noreen, who took their own lives rather than endure a prolonged dying. I recall my late colleague Jan, who took her minister husband to Dr. Jack Kevorkian for deliverance. Despite his reputation as Dr. Death, Jan said she and her husband, as he aided her husband in his dying. Jeff, a ministerial colleague from Canada, is a hospital chaplain and is doing his PhD thesis on this subject. He wrote me, "I certainly hope that your new governor has the sense to endorse this very humane way of dying. I've now participated in my role of spiritual care practitioner in about 6 provisions. Unfortunately, one was not professional. Kate, his wife, chose it at the end of an incredibly debilitating struggle in April. Her endurance with acute leukemia just became too much." What trauma for these and for millions of other people who dread a painful and undignified death. 10 states and the District of Columbia have already passed or by court order endorsed medical aid in dying. There have been no major problems. A strong majority of New Yorkers of all religious bents support medical aid in dying. Several European countries and our neighbors north in Canada have made laws. There is already a legal right to refuse treatment. You may recall Diane Rehm, the retired host of the talk show on NPR, who publicly shared the story of her husband's painful death. He was terminally ill with Parkinson's disease and was in misery, as was she. He begged to have medical aid in dying, but it was refused. Instead, he took matters into his own hands and literally starved himself to death, a very painful way to go. Fortunately, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, as long as it may last, provides reimbursement for doctor-patient consultations about end-of-life decisions. That feature was long ago derided by opponents of the ACA with a deliberately misleading talk of death panels. It simply provides for counseling. Of course, such decisions are difficult. There are no algorithms for calculating action. As people of faith, we know that death is simply part of the life process. We understand that sometimes death is friend, not enemy. The last right of a human being is to die with dignity. Woody Allen, in one of his better days, wrote that he wasn't afraid of death, he just didn't want to be there when it happened. Well, I do. However, I refuse to despair of death. The rather high certainty that I will die does greatly concentrate my mind. So we live in the mystery of life and death. We do what we can, we give what we can give, We live as we are able. If we cannot solve the riddle, and I wager we cannot, we learn to live with it and enjoy it. So we prepare for death by living a life. Death is not a punishment, not a cruel fate from which we need rescue by the supernatural, not prelude to some heavenly beyond, but part and parcel of life, a natural and necessary part of it. As George Santayana once said, there is no cure for birth or death except to enjoy the interval. We are all just visitors, guests of existence. What can we do with this blessed visit but be gracious and grateful guests? What can we do with time and death and the space between the stars but to enjoy this interval with heart and mind and soul? In the immortal words of Mark Twain, so live that when you come to die, even the undertaker will be sorry. And finally, I am inspired to work for medical aid in dying by my friend Judy, another ministerial colleague. She and her minister husband moved from Pennsylvania to Oregon when she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Oregon had the first medical aid in dying law. She had two goals. One was to celebrate her 77th birthday, which she did September 4th, 2020. The other goal was to be able to vote in the 2020 election. But she knew finally in the end that she could not make it that long. The suffering was too intense. And so she discontinued treatment and went into hospice care. The morning of her death, she wrote 15 letters to registered voters in Pennsylvania, urging them to vote. She would have been pleased at the result. Judy lived a very full life to the very end and died a dignified death. And so as I mark my 86th year of life, I have discovered that what is important is not the mere prolongation of biological existence. What is vital is the freedom to live a meaningful life and to die a dignified death. We're all terminal. We're all just penciled in. As that wise spirit from the Native American tradition puts it, the wonder is that it has happened at all. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 354 by Shelley Denham, whom I knew, and she died much too young.
We need to feel
Please join me in extinguishing the flame of this chalice. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world, in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
Between the rising of the curtain birth and the falling of the curtain death, there is the play, both precious and precarious, of smiles through tears, of loves loved and lost, of death in life and life despite death. Between the expectant hush of the audience at curtain time and its burst of acclaim or approval at play's end, we cavort back and forth across the stage, now in the glow of the footlights, now in the shadows beyond the curtains. All we can be sure of is that the curtain for us has risen, and just as surely one day will fall. May the play be worthy of applause. Amen.